some of the decisions that the president came up and when he gave the directive and approvals on the grazing reserves in 25 states, 368 grazing reserves. And part of it stemmed from what the presidency said, there are security issues, the clashes between the communities, between herders, between farmers. This is age-long. And from your own point of view, there's been talk about Ruga. There's been talk about the southern governors and the governors generally saying that we can no longer allow cattle to move around freely, openly, which has been one of the major issues of the clashes between farmers and herders. But this directive of President Buhari for the committee to commence their work or to continue with their work, what do you make of it?
Well, I would ask the question, if I had a chance to ask the president, what do you intend to do with this data? First of all, there's a huge amount of data that ordinarily should tell the president. A lot of research has been done, including one done by the convener of the Northern Elders Forum and a few other people, Professor Ango Abdullahi, that outlines exactly where those 360-odd grazing routes and reserves exist. On paper, they exist. In reality, a lot of them have been overtaken by large urbanization, encroachment, which has been licensed and by law because governors have signed documents and papers that allow people to build on them. And most of all, now they don't exist to the degree that they may be physically there, but it is very, very dangerous for any Fulani man and his cattle to traverse those places, even though they exist on paper as legally established grazing routes and reserves. But this begs the question. The Nigerian Constitution vests land in states, vests the power to administer those lands in governors. I would have thought that, and again, I have to say this, I'm not a lawyer, but I would have thought that the president would be availed the best legal advice, which is to remind him, if he doesn't know, that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will be severely stretched to support him. Governors can actually repeal grazing routes and grazing reserves that exist in their state by virtue of the powers that they have. And so all they need to do is to say, okay, maybe they existed, they were designed 50, 60, 70 years ago, but now I don't want them to exist in my state, and I have the powers to repeal those routes and reserves. And then it will have to be an issue of what the president intends to do then. So coming forward to him and say, Mr. President, we can show you a Nigerian map that outlines every route and every reserve that exists. It's not very difficult. What is the difficult thing is, what does the president want to do with these routes and reserves? He has a number of options. He can insist, he has the right to insist that governors who are signing banning laws, banning open grazing, allowing encroachment or obliteration of grazing routes and reserves, they are wrong, in which case he can take them to court and insist that those routes and reserves should be freed and restored back. That's one option. The second option could be that he should engage those governors. Gentlemen, this is not a federal problem. It's not a northern problem. It's not a Fulani problem. It is a Nigerian problem. The Fulani and his cattle is a Nigerian issue. It's not a northern issue. It's not a federal issue. It is the Fulani has a right to move in areas where he can find food and fodder and food for himself anywhere in the country. The existence of grazing routes and reserves is not a favor to the Fulani. Think of the irony. This country is blessed in so many ways. Two of them is that God gave us a huge amount of land and a huge amount of livestock. It's a failure of Nigerian leadership that we cannot manage these two assets. This is what all these things tell about. Is it impossible to find the kind of leadership that will say there is a way in which you can both use this land and allow the asset that is our livestock to coexist? This is the fundamental failure of leadership in this country. I'm not saying this problem started now. It started a long time ago. So Governors that are signing open grazing laws against open grazing, governors that would say, for instance, no, please don't come up with this business of gazetted grazing routes, because we can ungazette them tomorrow by signing a law that repeals them, because the power to administer land is vested in us. But beyond that, the question really is, do governors feel an obligation to protect Nigerians who are Fulani and their cattle if they are law-abiding? Do they recognize the fact that the existence of grazing routes and reserves actually serves to protect communities as well as protect cattle and the Fulani? This is the way it does that. If you have designated, known, clearly demarcated routes and reserves, routes and grazing reserves, everybody knows about them. No one should attack Fulani or his cattle if they are operating and staying within established grazing routes and reserves. By the same token, any Fulani or his cattle who veers away from these gazetted routes and reserves breaches the regulations regarding that and is therefore liable to be punished depending on what the punishment is. So it is a very, very effective and safe way in which you can manage both land and livestock. It is established, it is centuries old in West and Central Africa. It has existed in so many places. Now you have politics coming into it. A lot of governors feel that they have the right to insist that the Fulani and his cattle should not be seen in their states. They play to a gallery which sees Fulani and his cattle as a threat, whether they actually manifest that threat or not. They appear in the eyes of people as responding to concerns of people. A lot of these concerns are genuine, by the way. And most of all, they forget the fact that there is a political underpinning to this whole thing. You push away the Fulani, you push away his cattle. You sign laws that says, anywhere I see Fulani, I see cattle, anywhere I see Fulani, I'm going to prosecute or I will take other legal steps.